It's coming your way. Hey, hey, it's video of the day.
A washed-up jerk goes after Charlie Kirk. Our video of the day comes to us from former Today Show host Katie Couric, who repeatedly pushed John Fetterman to condemn Charlie Kirk. Roll it, Jane.
Do you think his body should have been flown on Air Force Two? Do you think he should have posthumously be given the Presidential Medal of Freedom? I think some people felt that that was perhaps over the top in terms of mourning someone like Charlie Kirk. How did you feel about that?
I'd say that that was his choice and his prerogative.
Some people felt you were over the top in mourning. Who would ask that question? Someone like Charlie Kirk. You mean a guy who encouraged open debate in a congenial fashion and then got murdered because of it? Fetterman handled that well, which didn't sit well with the elfish egotist.
Did you have any issues now in hindsight over some of the things that Charlie Kirk said and some of the rhetoric he used during his life?
I didn't agree with much of it. Engaging in a debate and views I strongly disagree on, that's part of the American democracy. I just chose not to take the opportunity to argue his views after children lost his father in the most violent public way.
So he made it clear he isn't like you, Katie. He actually has a beating heart and something totally alien to Katie, a conscience. But he wasn't done trying. She wasn't.
I think some people might say Charlie Kirk's rhetoric was extreme. People condemned political violence, but they also felt a great deal of discomfort with his language, suggesting that these kinds of words lead to violence.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think we agree that we probably didn't agree with much of what he said. And I think I'm sure we both agree that you shouldn't shoot people.
But does she agree? I don't know. I think maybe she needs another televised colonoscopy. Because she's so full of Andrew, there are a couple of moments there where she always says some people say, which drives me crazy, but that his words might lead to violence. It did. They killed him.
Yeah.
It wasn't us, baby. Oh, God, she's just disgusting.
I just can't even believe these people are like revered journalists still.
Yes.
I mean, and that's what I also caught too. Some people believe, some people say, they always say this stuff. It's like, what, you have a mouse in your pocket? Like,
Yeah.
What, the like microwave chicken brains you hang out with? There's 4 people that maybe say that, and they're right behind the camera. They're your producers. Those are
Yeah.
the some people. But I think, I got to say, Fetterman has grown on me.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, well, like a dangerous mole, but I still it's part of you now, and you're kind of like, oh, it's okay.
Yeah.
Fetterman got a factory reset.
Yeah.
He got a factory reset, and then suddenly all of the DNA that was built into his soul, the propaganda went away. And guess what he got? Pragmatism. He got logic and reason. And he speaks at now kind of a 5th grade level, but that's what people want. They don't want this obfuscation. And so he's giving it to us real, and now they're angry at him. Oh, and he just happens to be tripping now and ending up in the hospital. He's got to watch out. We got to fund some security for Fetterman, especially after that Katie Couric interview.
Yeah. Kat, maybe it's me, but every time somebody who is considered respectable in the mainstream media leaves and then ends up on their own, they end up appearing to be very gross. Katie Couric is a great example. Jim Acosta, Don Lemon. It doesn't happen. I have to say, it doesn't really happen with Fox. Like, our people are actually nice. I mean, maybe I'm biased.
Weird. I've met no nice people here. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Yeah, say you're kidding.
Of course I'm kidding. No. the whole thing, it's like I could have just predicted each thing that she was going to say next, kind of. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I think it was, there's nothing more boring to me in general than this like performative gotcha, trying so hard to have a viral moment that it's predictable type of thing. She was like, oh, so what you're saying is you agreed with everything he said. And he's like, no, I'm just saying like I was more focused on the fact that he was murdered in front of the entire world and has 2 young kids, which is a very common, normal take for people to have.
Yes.
And trying to make that into something like not okay. It was just transparent. I've seen it happen so many times and so many people doing that. I was just like, all right, I already know where this is going. Like,
Yeah. You know, Tyrus, some people say that Katie Couric.
Who? I want names.
No, just
No,
some
yeah,
people.
who is it?
No, some people.
Is it on
not,
your
it's
notebook?
not me.
Is
It's
it
not
on
me.
your notebook?
Not me.
Let me see your notes.
I'm just saying some people, Tyrus.
me your notes.
Say she's an odious troll, and I don't want to.
Odious?
Odious.
Odious. I heard him say odious in the green room earlier. And that's not a word I know. So it had to be him.
My favorite word.
Yes.
Grotesque.
There you go. No, again, they're using Charlie Kirk as a weapon to dismantle Fetterman. We saw this with RFK Jr. The Democrats eat their own when they're not in their own program. So they're trying to show to other Democrats this is not the guy you vote for anymore. They want him out of his seat. So they're going to run all these things. Look, he's a Republican. Look, he's a Trumper. Look, he supports this. He supports that. So some people, they just need to get him to answer these questions. He will be better served to not do these interviews because it's not about Charlie. It's not about freedom of speech. It's about how do we get rid of him because he's a problem. You know, he's calling balls and strikes. They don't do that. They anoint. They decide. They put dumbasses who think you can drink air, you know, in seats because why? They take orders. They put people to run for president who can't speak in complete sentences. Why? Because they take orders. Fetterman's a problem. So it doesn't matter what interview he does with these networks. It's all designed to show the people in his community that he's not one of them. He's a Republican. He's a problem. He's an enemy, like RFK, like they did with RFK Jr.
You know, David, I find it interesting. You know, she worked with Matt Lauer for many years, and somehow she missed that whole story. But she knows.
Yeah.
But she knows.
Right.
She knows what's in Charlie Kirk's heart and head.
No, not only did she work with Matt, she's this revered journalist.
Yeah.
She missed the Matt Lauer story. She also had dinner at Jeffrey Epstein's house.
That's right.
After he was convicted of pedophilia.
Yeah.
Okay, so here she says, I didn't know. She's one of the top journalists in America, didn't know the most famous pedophile in the world.
Yeah.
She's at dinner at his house, okay?
Yeah.
So she's completely, I don't know what does it take to get a journalist out of a job? What does it take? She is clearly like a moron. She knows nothing.
Yes.
She knows absolutely nothing. So she has that part of it, all of it, the Matt Lauer. And then Fetterman, it's like it took electing a guy with brain damage to raise the IQ of Congress. That's where we are now.
Yeah.
I would be pissed if I was Katie. Where were some people when she was having dinner with a pedophile?
Yes.
Oh, I got a call from some people.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.